Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. It's a special one because it's not happening on the usual rigmarole. It's a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show because, look, we've got an AEW pay-per-view coming up. Full Gear 2022, 2022 is how we say it in French. But as you are listening right now, you probably don't care. However, it's still nice. You know, you could impress at a cocktail party and say, I am going to watch a Full Gear 2022. Okay. But we are going to be going through the pay-per-view today. We're going to be previewing it, giving some expert pinpoint predictions as we go along. And when I say we, that is not French for yes. I mean we as in us right now. Everyone that you see on the screen right now on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you're watching us here right now, I'm talking of being joined right now by Kylie and Haley, both of Tag Talk over on Fightful Overbooked and Romanticized Wrestling as well. Kylie, Haley, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. That was perfect. See, it's the Tag Talk thing.
I mean,
it really is.
It's really scary. And just a peek behind the curtain when we were setting everything up, I sent out the invitation. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go boil up some tea. I'm going to sit down and then we'll be ready, at the time we determine. And like within a fraction of a second, both of them just like boom, boom, popped in. It's like wants to join. Okay. So, I mean, you two are really connected. You clearly have like a lot of chemistry. And that's, I think, one of the strengths that makes you so compelling and interesting to listen to and to watch. Cause I love your stuff. But I can't take for granted that everyone here knows who you are. So why don't you let us know a little more about Tag Talk and Romanticized Wrestling?
Kylie?
Oh, okay. Well, Tag Talk is a show we do on Fightful Overbooked. It's all about tag team wrestling. We do some news in tag team wrestling. We talk about stories in tag team wrestling, just appreciating the unique form of wrestling that it is. And Romanticized Wrestling is kind of like our little passion project, I guess you could say. It's basically, that's where like all the heart we have for these characters and these stories in wrestling, we're putting all of that there. So it's Tag Talk, Tag Team, Romanticized Stories.
Well, there you go. So I get the pitch perfectly. That's fantastic. And I think you guys are, I listen to Tag Talk quite a bit. I think you guys have some spot on opinions. And since we're talking about AEW, well, the tag team promotion, or so we've been told, I'll be excited to get into, or so we've been told. I'll be excited to get into some parts of it. But hey, you know what? If you're, just before we go on, let's just get this out of the way. Subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel if you're listening right now. Give the video a like, or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, reviews, 5 stars, 5-star ratings on Spotify, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Those things help out a great deal, help the podcast grow, so on and so forth. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's start talking about it. Full Gear 2022. Usually what I like to do before we actually get into the card is sort of give how do we feel about the status of how we got to the build here? How the build was, how we feel like personally, I feel like we're finally, we're divesting ourselves of the all-out aftermath, right? The whole nonsense. I feel like finally, we're peeking through the mist of all of that, and there's, just basically moving forward, right? And I think, we've seen a few things, of course, that affected the booking quite possibly leading into Full Gear. I'm pretty sure this was not the card that Tony expected, in June. Let's put it that way. Haley, why don't we start with you? How do you feel about the build to Full Gear?
I'm like 50-50 on it. I think that, Tony is doing the best with what he has right now. A lot of his time was taken up with the whole Brawl Out situation and just everything surrounding All Out. So I do think that, things have been a little wishy-washy, more normal so than they would usually be, especially because they only have 4 pay-per-views to focus on. But I think it's been good. I'm excited for the matches. I think it's going to be great.
Kylie, what about you?
I think it's easy to say that the build has been bad because there are some significant low points. But if you look at things like there's 3 women's matches currently, 3 women's matches that I think are very well booked and very well promoted, especially that Britt Baker-Saraya match. I think that's just 5 stars going into Full Gear. I also think the Acclaimed have been doing great stuff. I think Jungle Boy Luchasaurus in a cage is going to be really interesting. Of course, there's low points. There's no Wardlow match so far. There's Hangman, unfortunately injured. So, Hangman's out. Adam Cole is still out. Kyle O'Reilly is still out. So there's a lot of things at play. Has it been the best build for AEW? No, not even by far. But with everything that's going on, I got to say, it's better than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Myself on my own show, I've been talking about at least maybe not the past 2 weeks specifically, but I feel like there'd been a 3 to 4 week stretch where everything felt a lot more focused and precise. Especially once we started hearing about one guy finally being gone. You really felt like there had been much more of a direction as far as the booking was going, but primarily in the top programs with the top people, with Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. But you did feel like there was the confusion and the slapdash stuff that had been happening all throughout the summer, right up to All Out. It feels like it's all sort of settled. So, I'm kind of in agreement with you both, where I also am like, am of the opinion that everything is sort of, Tony's doing his best with what he has, with the weight of that situation now being lifted. Hopefully we'll be able to get, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a good wrestling show out of it. But has the build been that compelling? Well, I think the major programs have. But maybe some stuff beneath hasn't been quite as compelling. But you mentioned it, Kylie, no Wardlow match as it stands so far, right? Which is it's a big deal. But we know, look, we're recording this on November 13th. So there's still one more Dynamite. There's still one more Rampage before we actually get to Full Gear. We know AEW likes to throw in these last-minute matches. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do you any matches that you feel might pop up? Maybe a Wardlow match, for instance?
Yeah, I think Wardlow versus Cage versus Hobbs.
Yeah.
I think that's a match Tony wants.
Versus Cage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wardlow, Cage, and Hobbs, maybe as a triple threat or any combination of those guys. I think Tony has, I think there's enough indication that he wants that match. I think fans love a good big guy match just for fun. It'll probably be on the pre-show, the buy-in, whatever we're calling it nowadays, which is a shame because I think Wardlow deserves a big program like all the other TNT champions have had. But that's besides the point. I love seeing Hobbs in that spot, with a guy like Wardlow really elevating himself. So I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
Haley, what about you? Do you have something that might pop up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was talking to Kylie about this because she's going to Full Gear. And,
fun.
We're big Elite fans. We love the Elite. We're excited to see them return. But I was like, I wonder if they almost return on the Dynamite that's coming up and set up a trios match with Death Triangle. And then we see maybe the House of Black return at Full Gear. I was wondering if maybe we're going to get something like that.
Or they could flip it the other way. You could have House of Black return and then the Elite returns at Full Gear. I just think it can't be a coincidence that we're getting House of Black and Elite teases at the same time.
No, I agree. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that suddenly Death Triangle don't get along.
Exactly.
Right? I'm 100% with you, Haley. I think, from a pure business aspect of it, I think the Elite's return to wrestling is something you should announce to get pay-per-view buys. That's what I think It's a bit of a game changer. It's not as if, you just want to throw a surprise. People will be excited to see them back. I really think that this Wednesday on Dynamite, the Elite, or whatever they're going to be called moving forward. I don't even think they're going to be called that moving forward.
The Wayward Sons.
The Wayward Sons, whatever. Kenny and the Boys. Kenny
and the Boys.
It'd just be, it'd be great, right?
I love that.
Whatever they choose to name themselves moving forward, I think they show up on Dynamite this week. Mm-hmm. I think they make a clear challenge to Death Triangle, and that sets up a big match for All Out, which for Full Gear, which we've sort of said maybe there's some of those maybe we're lacking a bit of these big matches. You couldn't get any bigger than that. I'd even throw Lee Moriarty versus Hook if they don't pull the trigger on that on the free shows this week, because they teased that on Rampage, and I'm like, what a perfect prelim match on the pre-show. Lee Moriarty and Hook going at it. That'd be great, actually. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, I also think they announced that Takeshita match for Rampage, I think it is. Mm-hmm. So you could also do Eddie Kingston versus Takeshita, or anyone versus Takeshita. I think fans love him. You have to.
I think you have to, at the very least, put him on the pre-show. Takeshita's in town.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was coming back. Yeah, no. Did we know he was coming back in November? I don't know.
I didn't know he was coming back.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, look, we're excited to have him back. That'll be fun. But not as fun as our predictions that we are going to start right now. I'm going to run down the card from, I'm using the Wikipedia page right now from the bottom to the top. That's how we'll do it. Keep the main event for the main event, right? Bury the lead. We're going to start off with Luchasaurus versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry, which is what they're leaning more and more into the Jack Perry stuff. Steel cage match, which was set up on Rampage last Friday. Have at it. Why don't we start with Kylie's thoughts on this? It's been a long simmering feud, and one which obviously had to take a turn once Christian got injured. This is clearly another one of these situations where they're making do with what they have. How do you feel about this match here?
I'm really interested in this because I think Luchasaurus, for me at least, this is the most interesting he's been as this big evil guy. The Christian Cage thing is weird though, because the rivalry is really between Jungle Boy and Christian Cage. It's not so much even about Luchasaurus. So you could give Jungle Boy the win here at Full Gear, and then when Christian comes back, you could do that match, Jungle Boy, Christian Cage down the line. And then I don't know what you do there, but you could also give Luchasaurus the win, and maybe he cheats somehow with Christian. I don't know. But I do think Jungle Boy, the whole rebrand of Jungle Boy into Jack Perry, I think he needs the win more. So that's what I think. I'd give him maybe not an easy win. I want to see him really fight for it and work hard for it. But this could be like career making for Jungle Boy. So,
well, I mean, I think if he does work for it, it continues to keep Luchasaurus strong, right? Because if it's an easy win, it's it defeats the purpose for Luchasaurus as well. I think there's that fine line they have to tread there. I'm with you on that. Haley, what do you think?
I'm with Kylie. I think that Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, I do think that he needs it more. I feel like he's kind of at a turning point. I feel like a lot of people didn't suspect that he could necessarily not do a singles thing again, but he's always had kind of the Jurassic Express to kind of help him out there. So I feel like a lot of people view it as a sink or swim type of situation. So I'm excited to see how he handles that. And we haven't really seen him in this type of environment before. I love the steel cage aspect. So I'm super excited for this match. And
steel cages have not been overdone in AEW either. So it's a bit of a novelty. So that's fun. I feel it has the feel of a blow off, right? But like Kylie said, there's still the Christian Cage element that we have to settle, and that will only happen once Christian is healed up. So it might not be the most compelling story they have, because I feel like it was stretched out because stuff happened, you know. But I'm with you both. I think our boy Jack here needs the win because he's been punked on two previous occasions. So that has to stop. And if they want to elevate him and put him up there, and nothing like a big signature win here, flying off of a cage, as long as he doesn't die. That's all that matters. So on this one here, we all agree Jack Perry's gonna get the win, but we're also saying this isn't done because there's still the Christian stuff down the line. Hopefully they can find him a little side something to do, though.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'd like to just have him like spread his wings a little more, try something else, and then I'll, from out of the blue, Christian Cage circles back on him and like, oh yeah, okay, Christ, Christian's healed and he's ready to go, kind of thing. That'd be fun. And we have a tag team match here. Sting and Darby Allin are going to be taking on Jay Lethal and the newest addition to the AEW roster and office, Jeff Jarrett. Ain't he great? Haley, ain't he great? Slap nuts.
I don't think there's a match that Kylie and I could be less excited for. And yes, I'm speaking for her because I know we both agree. Look, it's not okay. I love Sting, love Darby. Jay Lethal's okay. Jeff Jarrett is fine on like these one-off occasions,
Sure.
As long as we keep it at that, and he's not like a reoccurring thing, like I'm okay with it. And I realize it's more of like a nostalgia pop than anything else. I'm not that excited for it though.
Are there any nostalgia pops left for Jeff Jarrett? I feel like we're at a point where Jeff Jarrett is now he's just like a little fly that won't go away. I am so sick of Jeff Jarrett.
It's true, but I'm just saying more so for like the Sting and Jeff Jarrett. Like,
I gotcha.
Yeah, I think the context of Sting and Jeff Jarrett is the thing. Like, as I myself am kind of excited about it because just because I've been watching wrestling for so long and I know everything that this entails, and there's a sort of level of irony to it as well for my excitement, because ultimately all I want out of this match. I just want Sting to no sell a guitar shot. That's all I want. That's the only thing I really expect out of this match. Jeff Jarrett was the hiring out of the blue of the century. Like, I don't think anyone saw it coming, but that's the story of Jeff Jarrett. He just fails upward. I don't know how he does it. Apparently, everyone in power really likes him. Apparently he's a very nice guy. And I don't know. I only have speculation. I don't have answers. I got nothing for you. But look, I watched the Ric Flair retirement match.
Oh, me too.
Jeff Jarrett carried that match, and I think it's hard to argue otherwise. It wasn't Andrade, it wasn't Jay. Jeff kept that match together. If anything, I'm confident that he'll be able to pull. Like, he's not going to just hang around and wait for something to happen and then hit his spots before he gets gassed. He's fine, and he looks in shape. He looks great. I think him and Sting having a good old-fashioned TNA throwback is going to be great. Impact TNA, by the way, just to make sure. There's a lot of there's certain things about Jeff Jarrett I don't necessarily want to see. But I mean, look, for whatever it's worth, this match is, it's going to be for fun. It's going to be for a good crowd reaction. Do the baby faces win? Do the heels win?
Here, I have a theory, and maybe this is going to get me ostracized from Tag Talk, but I don't know. I feel like it's very Tony Khan to give Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal the win here.
Oh, yeah.
And then for me, personally, the last 4 months, 5 months, Darby Allin has not felt like Darby Allin like he was when he was TNT champion. Mm-hmm. He's very, at least in my opinion, the way I'm watching him, he's kind of like watered down. And I would love to see Darby Allin turn on Sting here.
Oh.
I think that would really put some more life into the Darby Allin character. And I think there's a lot more you can do with that. You could put him with Jungle Boy, like you said, while we're waiting for Christian Cage to be back. But Darby Allin, he still gets good reactions from the crowd, but I don't think people are excited to see his matches anymore because it's always Darby and Sting. Darby and Sting. It's never Darby as TNT champion with Sting anymore. So they got to do something for Darby, and that's the only thing I can think of.
That's an interesting thought, and it even dives into an idea a thought I had, where it's like the whole Jay Lethal Darby Allin stuff does nothing for me, and I feel it's been dragged out so much that I'm like, I don't even care anymore. So if giving him a turn, I agree. The turn would just like not only lock the door on the Jay Lethal stuff, but would give him a whole different direction to work from. Yeah, I could get behind that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they need to do a little something more with Darby for sure. He's more like one of the guys now, just another one of the guys than the special act that he was. I think the baby faces are going to win. I think that's what you do. You have Sting and Darby win at the end. Haley?
No, I'm the same. I do think that Sting and Darby are probably going to take it here. But to Kylie's point about Darby, I kind of feel the same. And I feel like it's almost been a waiting game for the world title picture. So I would love to see, like Kylie said, see him turn here and then maybe enter a feud with Jungle Boy, just something until we can kind of get that world title slot for him. I think he needs that.
That's interesting. Okay. Dr. Britt Baker, she's a dentist, will be taking on Saraya in Saraya's first match since 2017. At least as far as we know, that hasn't been mystery booked yet. Haley, I'm going to start with you on this one. How do you feel about this one has been going? How do you feel about Saraya's return, being in a program with Britt? Tell me about it.
I'm super excited. I love the both of them, and I think this is what the women's division needed. Like, they needed this boost. So I'm super excited for the match. I hope that we see Saraya put Britt over here. I don't know if we're going to see it, but I would love that. I think that maybe I have like a point for the Tony and Jamie Hayter match that this kind of ties into. But if we don't see Britt win here, I almost wonder if it's going to cause her to cost Jamie the title match and then set up their feud, because I feel like that's kind of been brewing for a bit and we've just been waiting for that.
Yeah, they've been like giving us the carrot and taking it back, and yeah, there's been a back and forth on it. Okay, so that's interesting. Kylie, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
For me, this is a dream match. I love both of these women. I think they're incredible. I also agree that I think Saraya has to put Britt over here. I think 2022 has been a weird year for Britt Baker. I think her world title run fizzled out, and then people really stopped investing in her, and she was just kind of there, and it's been all about Jamie Hayter. And I really do feel like they could do a lot with that resentment there and have a nice, compelling story with Britt and Jamie Hayter. And I think you could do that without the title. I think you don't need Jamie Hayter or Britt Baker to be it's still interim women's world champion. You don't need them to be interim champion. But I don't know. I feel like it would add a cool element. And if Jamie Hayter wins the title and Britt beats Saraya, then it's natural that would be our next women's title program, interim women's title program. I don't know when Thunder Rose is coming back. I don't know where she fits into this. But I don't know. I feel like Saraya can't lose a lot. It's her first match back after all these years. The crowd loves her. I feel like Britt has more to gain than Saraya has to lose. Interesting.
Okay. I felt like the promo that they had on last week's Dynamite was super important because they really needed that to add some meat onto this feud, and I think that delivered. The only thing that I'm worried about, that has me a little anxious, but again, you never know what the dude has planned. But as it stands, it's like, I'm a little worried with Saraya's Saraya going off on, I'm coming in here, I'm making this my house now. This is, I'm going to revitalize this division, so on and so forth. When you have Britt Baker right there going, hey, sister, I did this already. We're good here. We don't need, she didn't say it as such, but we don't need WWE people coming in here telling us what to do. And I think that's something that resonates with the AEW audience, because AEW was built off of, let's be honest here, a grassroots resentment towards WWE.
Yeah.
So I think there's only so much that she can carry, that Saraya can carry on that front, going in and saying, thumping her chest and going, this is I'm taking over, when it's like, cool your jets. Come in, come be a part, join up with people, but coming in as some Lord and Savior, we don't need saving. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking from a kayfabe perspective, because the women's division needs a lot of work. And I think that's something that the fans might, if she keeps going down that line, the fans might turn on her. Yeah. So if anything, I'm like, are they planning a double turn?
Ooh.
They could be. It'd be really good for the women's division to do it. And going back to what you said about the promo, it was almost like Saraya saying, like, I did all these years of hustling, and then you got this opportunity handed to you, blah, blah, blah. But it's almost like AEW fans, when it comes to Britt Baker, she was the first woman signed as a wrestler. She, they have a deep respect for Britt Baker, even though, there's issues with her booking and so on and so forth. It certainly felt that way to me, that Saraya saying Britt doesn't work as hard as me. She never had to work hard a day in her life. This almost like blue collar indie wrestler thing she has going, as though she didn't have all this fame and fortune and success in WWE. So I think that would be really interesting. I think fans would really like it.
I think it'd be a twist. Yeah, it'd be something. She never worked the Tokyo Dome, by the way. That was a lie.
She didn't.
She did not.
Cork and Hall, she did. Absolutely. Yeah. Good for her, though. But not the Dome. I love it when wrestlers they just get into full wrestling mode, wrestler promo mode, and they're just like, I did this and this and that, and they're like,
I got 9 stars in Tokyo.
So let's take a step back. Okay, so if I'm breaking this down here, Kylie, you think Britt is going to go over here? Mm-hmm. Haley, I think you have the same the same vision.
Yeah.
And I understand why you're going down this road. And I think I can't.
It could go either way. Like that's the exciting thing about it.
I just feel it would, I don't think it'd help Saraya. And I think she's treading some just a little weird water in regards to her relationship with her connection with the fans right now. So I think let her get a good win. That might be something. And we have to dial back I'm coming in to change stuff. She has to be careful, but I think it would be a bit of a surprise if she lost.
Sure.
How about that? Since we're talking about the women, let's talk about the singles match for the AEW TBS Championship. Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose. I'm going to come flat out and say it, and I don't know who wants to follow up on this, but Nyla Rose is doing the best work of her career in AEW.
Yes.
Period.
I love Nyla. Kylie and I have felt kind of the same about her, I feel like. Where her being tied to Vicky, it really hurt her. Like, her persona online is so good. Like, and we were like, oh, we need that on TV. And then when she started to bring it to TV, like, you have money there. Like, it's great. I love Nyla, and I love getting to see more of her personality. And I love the whole, like, I'm the champion, you're walking around with the replica title, like, thing. Like, I just think it's so fun. So I'm super excited for this match.
I think Nyla like if you look at the whole women's division, I think she's one of the most naturally charismatic women in the division. She's just so gifted with this incredible personality, and AEW hasn't showcased it. They've tried to make Nyla this like a beast. They tried to make Nyla what Wardlow is for the men's division. And it doesn't work because she's just this like goofball on social media that it's like that's better than what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jade is that beast character. She's like, what is she now? Like 900-0, like beating everybody. I don't even know what she's at now.
Fast taker a long time ago.
That's the true streak, Jade Cargill streak.
She beat Goldberg.
And for the longest time, I've been under the impression that they're saving Jade's first loss for something big, like a big, challenger, a surprise, whatever. And I think part of me still thinks that's true. I think Jade beats Nyla here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but then I don't know what you do with Jade after that. It just feels like they built her up and she's beaten like basically the entire division. It's like, I don't know. It's almost too far at this point. If you're getting her to 50-0, like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know about all that. I think we're past that. I think people are ready to move on from Jade as much as I love her.
Jade is TBS champion, you mean?
Yeah. I think Nyla as champ would be a lot of fun. You could do Nyla versus Penelope Ford would be great. Nyla versus Bunny would be great now that Bunny's back. So there's a lot you can really do with a babyface Nyla Rose. And I'm intrigued by that potential.
Julia Hart.
Oh, Julia Hart. Don't even get me started on Julia Hart. I want her everywhere. Everywhere.
The dark like sorceress look for her really works for her. It really does. It's a surprisingly good fit. I've loved like you both said, converting Twitter shitposter Nyla to television has been a stroke of genius. It's been absolutely wonderful. She's been great. This whole program gives me vibes of, when Chris Jericho back in WCW was slated to job out to Goldberg to continue the streak, and Jericho was trying to do something funny. He was like, well, look, if I'm going to lose, I'm at least going to try and have a little fun with it. I'm at least going to do, some nonsense. But then Goldberg nixed everything and was like, okay, fine, you're not going to get the match. And I was like, anyway, Bill Goldberg, that's for another time. But we are getting the match here. So I get that vibe where Nyla's like, look, I'm going to lose. But if I'm going to lose, I'm going to have a good time in the process. I'm going to try and get myself over a little more. I'm going to try and, and I think it's working out because personally speaking, I don't think Jade drops the title, despite the fact that I'm in agreement with you, Kylie, that I think it's time for Jade to sort of move up into the world title picture, start getting, because she's, let's say the most top level talent that she's fought was Athena. Outside of that, she's been, hanging around mostly the lower mid card workers with like Penelope, like the Bunny, Anna Jay a couple of times, Tai Conchi. No disrespect. They're just not considered to be on the higher lane, I guess, for the world title, which is why I'm still convinced that Chris Statlander was going to take it off of her.
Oh yeah.
Convinced. That was absolutely clearly the plan, and it's a terrible bummer. But clearly they're trying to get more gas out of this because they want the proper competition, so on and so forth. I think she retains. Despite the fact that maybe it is getting a little long in the tooth. Maybe she needs to graduate up to, we have her fight Toni Storm. We know why she's not fighting Toni Storm right now, but let's have her go at it. Let's have her go after Jamie Hayter because Jamie Hayter's graduated as well. It's like she's ready to go up to go up a lane or two. But I don't think she's losing this pay-per-view. We're all in agreement. She's retaining the title or getting it back, however way you want to take a look at it. All right, cool. Hey, have you heard that Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor? I feel like every week people talk about that. We're going to have a fatal four-way. Don't call it a fatal four-way. A four-way match for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Champion Chris Jericho will be defending against Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Sammy Guevara. Haley, just because you're holding your head, I'm throwing it to you. Just because I want the unabridged, the pure thoughts right now.
I'm so tired of the feud between BCC and JAS.
Really?
I thought that this was done after Blood and Guts. I was like, okay, that's it. We're done. No, we're going to continue. If it doesn't end after this, I'm quitting. I'm done with wrestling media. No.
What? This is the first time I'm hearing this.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm writing this down.
I would never. Anyway, I do think that Jericho is going to retain here for obvious reasons, especially with the TV deal looming. Tony needs him to do that, I feel. So as much as I want somebody else to win, I know Chris Jericho is going to retain.
Kylie, what about you?
I'm also pretty much sick of this.
Yeah.
I think, and here's my real gripe with it. I think BCC is so cool and like so good. And I really want them to do things with the Elite and with like House of Black and like all these factions that are also stacked with just excellent talent. Mm-hmm. And not that the JAS isn't. Like I love what's his name, Daddy Magic, and I love I love the girls. I love Ty. I love Anna Jay. But like I think much like the Inner Circle did, I think JAS, I think the talent are really starting to outgrow it. And Chris Jericho is Ring of Honor World Champ. I understand, you know, going into TV, it'll be good to get people to watch, blah, blah, blah. And I do think Jericho wins here. But part of me, I almost wonder if you give it to Danielson and you do Danielson Jericho at the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And then I don't know where you go from there, but I don't think Guevara takes it. At least I hope Guevara doesn't take it. I don't know. Now I spoke that into existence. It's going to happen.
No, I
don't think Claudio takes it either. I think there's a bigger story for Claudio, and that's with Eddie Kingston. I still think Eddie Kingston keeps mentioning it. I think we're still planning to do that. And I would like that in AEW, not in Ring of Honor. I want that on a bigger stage. So that's where I'm at.
Interesting. Because I don't have a problem with this feud at all. You know, because I've loved everything that the BCC has been doing. Like from even before they were the BCC, right? When they were doing the Danielson and Mox stuff, and then like even before it all came together, everything has been fantastic. Like it from my wrestling sensibilities, just speaks completely to me. So. You know, if anything, like I blame Daniel Garcia, because if Daniel Garcia hadn't started waffling and going, oh, maybe I want to be with Bryan Danielson. No, maybe I want to be with Chris Jericho. We wouldn't be having this next chapter here. So it's all Danny's fault, honestly, for being honest. See, I don't necessarily have a problem with it because like everything makes sense. Claudio is you know, identified as a Ring of Honor guy. Danielson, of course, as well. And what I really think has been interesting throughout this arc is the little simmering, bubbling discontent that has been brewing within the BCC underneath, specifically because of Danielson. And Danielson, I think at any given moment, he's ready to snap. Because he's not the yes guy anymore. He's not coming in smiling and kissing babies. He literally comes in and says, let's kick some fucking heads in. That's his thing. He comes out of the heel tunnel every time. I'm not surprised that he has, you know, that Wheeler Yuta is like, I thought you'd be better than this. And he's like, calm down there, kid, you know, and then, you know, he and Yuta get into an argument and Claudio comes to break them up and William Regal's in the back is like, well, that's just how we do it around here, you know, kind of thing. And I I think that, there's a something interesting that will come out of this match regarding Danielson and the BCC, and I think that's going to be the payoff from maybe the exhaustion that some of you are living in regards to the feud with the JAS. I think there's really something good that's going to come out of it. I also think Jericho's going to retain. Wouldn't be surprised if Danielson made it, because him on top of that, on his promo last week, he was like, he put over, how important it was for him, and he's going to bring dignity back to the Ring of Honor title, which is really the whole story of Chris Jericho being champion, which I've enjoyed terribly. I think it's been a lot of fun. But I think Jericho remains for business reasons, as were mentioned, mostly. But I think we're going to get some good story out of it in the long run. So we're all in agreement, maybe a little begrudgingly, that Chris Jericho retains. Okay. All right. Yeah. Toni Storm is going to defend the interim AEW Women's World Championship against Jamie Hayter. Kylie, you're good to go.
I am so excited for this match. You have no idea. And the way I see it is, this is the only opportunity you have, really, to capitalize on the Jamie Hayter stuff. I think we saw with Thunder Rosa last year, having her lose at the pay-per-view just to have her win on a Dynamite. Like, fans didn't really buy into that. They don't like it. And we saw again with the Acclaimed. Luckily, the Acclaimed bounced back because they're amazing. But don't do that, Tony. Don't have them lose just to challenge again and win. It makes no sense. I don't like this rubber match structure we have. Give Hayter the title. And then I don't know where Thunder Rosa is. I don't know what she's doing. Let's not worry about that right now, Tony. Let's worry about Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. That is the story here. And Toni Storm, she can go do stuff with Sky Blue and anyone else that she wants to. Saraya, whoever else is hanging around. I don't know. But it would be an absolute shame for Jamie Hayter to work her way to this pay-per-view with the fan support she has, just for them to be like, nah, Toni Storm, because Thunder Rosa is coming back. I don't want it. And I know I know Tony, and I know he's going to want Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. But let's be innovative, Tony. He's not watching this, but I'm going to send this to Tony Khan.
No, I'm sure he watches. I'm sure he does.
Let's not do Jamie Hayter like we did Thunder Rosa. Let's give it to her.
Okay. Haley, are you in agreement?
See, I'm back and forth. I really want Jamie to win. I'm a Jamie Hayter fan through and through. And I think that you're coming to a point where there's not much else you can do with her and Britt in their teaming up as it is. Okay. I think there needs to be a split there, and I think that the next logical step for Jamie is the title. And like Kylie said, having her lose just to win on a Dynamite would be a disservice to Jamie Hayter. I think just her past year alone, she's really built herself up and gotten so over with the fans. So I would hate to see her lose here. So I'm going to go Jamie. I'm just going to manifest that.
Okay. We're manifesting.
Tony, please.
I'm going to demanifest.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's time. I don't think you belt Jamie just yet. I think you milk this sucker for what it's worth. I really do. Because the cool thing is that she has organic build. Like, Tony didn't count on her getting over, but all of a sudden she got herself over on her work, just on her in-ring work. That's how she did it. And that's fantastic. So you know what? You can stretch that out. And I think it'd be doing her a disservice to give her the title just now. First and foremost, Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter has all the potential to be the absolute best women's match AEW will have ever put on. Because these two women are fantastic. They've worked similar styles. All their career, they've worked with each other. They know each other. There is the potential to just be the absolute top tier women's match, like the bar from that just moving forward. But I see the interest in Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa reuniting the titles. I see that. I see more possibilities to get Toni Storm into interesting programs as well. I think Jamie is riding high, and she is a force in the division. And I don't think that belting her means that she doesn't get pushed. I don't think that it makes her less interesting. I don't think it devalues her. I think you stretch that out a little bit, and you build her up hot because she's popular, but I think she could be hotter. I think if Tony really, really got behind her, I think he could make her really, really hot and make and there's definitely a case for her being even more over than she is right now.
Well, and then I have a question for you, a little bit of a follow-up. What happens if we're at Full Gear and we have a situation like we had with the Acclaimed, where we go in thinking they're popular, but they can lose, but then the crowd is so behind Jamie Hayter and they absolutely despise Toni Storm? What happens to Toni then if we don't give it to Hayter?
I 100% was supportive of the idea of them at Full Gear calling the audible in the ring and saying, no, we're changing the finish. But there's a whole bunch of context on top of that, because I didn't think All Out was that great a show. And at that point when we had that tag match, everything was really dragging, and you could feel the energy was out of the room, and there was some really weird matches with some, weird decisions that were made. And the crowd was into it. They were super hot. If I was Tony backstage and I was listening to this, I'm like, finally, we got the crowd back into the show. They're super hot. All right, let's just flip this around and do the thing. I think that would have been a really good idea to do. I'm completely supportive of that. That's something I would have done anyway. They could absolutely do that, But then, did it ruin the Acclaim though? See, that's the thing. Because then they do the rematch at Shea, and not at Shea Stadium. Why did I say Shea Stadium? At Arthur Ashe. Shea Stadium. Jesus, it's 1982 in my brain all of a sudden. And they did the match at Arthur Ashe. Acclaim came out and people were nuts for them nonetheless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do you think they would have done the rematch if the Acclaimed weren't as white hot and over as they were at All Out?
Yes.
Because to me, I think Tony Khan going into that, he's like, Swerve in Our Glory was what was over, and I think that's undeniable. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why we're still doing the Acclaimed, but we'll do that. We'll talk about that later.
In a second, yeah.
But what I worry about with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa is I do think there's AEW fans are a little resentful of Thunder Rosa. There's a lot of weirdness around that, and I think AEW fans, they love a good conspiracy. They really do. So for me, I'm a little worried about Toni Storm beating Jamie Hayter, which fans are not going to be happy about, but I think they'll be willing to look past it to go in with Thunder Rosa. And I do think in that situation, I think Toni Storm would beat Thunder Rosa, but I think Tony Khan would love to see Thunder Rosa beat Toni Storm. So I don't know. I just want Toni Storm out. I want her away from all of this.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay. I see what you mean. I think there's a way for this match to happen in the result, and so on and so forth, where both women come out looking like superstars, right? Regardless of the finish. There's ways to do that. You give them time. You make sure you have the right talents in there, and I think the right talents are there. I think it's all a question of letting them put on the match that needs to be put on. But that's a good point that you're making, though. Should we call it the dark cloud that's following Thunder Rosa right now? Is that a good way to put it? That's the non-negligible point. I mean, she's going to come back and she's going to want to reunite. She's going to have the claim. So you'd be okay with having her go after Jamie Hayter, then, is what you're saying?
I think, and that's the weird situation. I think regardless of who wrestles Thunder Rosa, when I don't care who it is when she comes back. I think they're really going to have to contend with that. I just think Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa, with Jamie Hayter presumably winning. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Tony Khan to give it to Thunder Rosa, even if it's Jamie Hayter, even if it's Tony Storm, even if it's, I don't know, Jesus. I think he would give it to Thunder Rosa because I think he likes continuity in his champions. But I think Jamie Hayter cutting a promo on Thunder Rosa about this situation would sell the match better than if Tony Storm did it. I think I'm thinking ahead to that pivotal moment on Dynamite, and that's where my head's at. And I think Jamie Hayter wrestling Thunder Rosa, you could Britt Baker. There's Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. You could pepper that into the story more than you could Tony Storm. I don't know. I think in my heart, I just want Tony Storm to wrestle a returning Ruby Soho. I just want it. I don't know.
Okay.
Ruby Soho's injured, of course, but
they all feel injured now. But okay, no, but this is okay. I see your point, and there's definitely value to that. I really think that I don't think it's time for. I think it's
fair.
Jumping the gun a little too early. Haley, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I'm just listening to you guys go back and forth. In my head, I'm like, yeah, same, yeah, same.
So we have a bit of a split here. You both think Jamie's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I still, I think Tony hangs on to it. We'll be sure to tweet at each other on Saturday.
Okay.
She's gonna be there live, just tweeting the both of us,
just taking selfies, going like.
I'll do it. Don't.
I hope you do. I hope so. We're going to have the finals of the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament, which is still ongoing as of this recording. We know that the semifinals are going to be Ethan Page versus Bandito and Brian Cage versus the winner of Lance Archer versus Ricky Starks, which did not happen on Rampage this Friday because Starks was quote unquote not cleared to wrestle after being attacked by Lance Archer. Okay, well, without necessarily getting into the nitty gritty and everything, let's just talk about who we think gets to the finals. Who are we going to see in the finals at Full Gear? Haley, since you've been just listening to Kiley and I do the Kiley and Warren show, why don't you jump in here and start off?
I think we see Ethan Page for sure. I'm a big Ethan Page stan, and I just want the world for him. And then I would love to see Ricky in this spot too. I feel like he's another person that needs to be hot-shotted to the title as soon as possible. So I'd love to see him in this position with Ethan. I don't know. I feel like we might see Brian Cage though.
You think so? You think?
I don't know why. It's just a feeling that I have, and I go with my gut,
Tony,
and I don't like that my gut's saying that.
Tony's got this newfound love for Brian Cage, and now he's gonna spread it up and down the entire card. That's your feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Ricky and Ethan.
You're gonna go with Ricky and Ethan. What about you, Kiley? How do you feel about the semifinals?
I think Ethan Page is pretty much a definite. I think they've just the Firm and MJF saga, if you even want to call it that, this mini story, I guess. Mm-hmm. I think they've really been building Ethan Page for something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's to win this whole thing or to go on a big run, I don't know. And I think Ethan Page and MJF as a world title match would be really interesting because they have a lot of history there, presuming MJF wins the world title. And I think Ethan Page versus Ricky Starks would be a match fans would love to see. It's two guys who fans think haven't gotten their due, mm-hmm. who are well deserving of opportunities. I think they'd be really into it. And I think Ethan Page beating Ricky Starks would be just really good for his heel character, his heel persona, his whole vibe and energy. So that's what I'm thinking. I think Ricky's been kind of lost since the Hobbs thing. And, I don't know the mm-hmm. situation of why he wasn't on TV. There's I don't want to delve into it. But it would be, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to see him take this loss and like really work his way back up, like on a vendetta, on a revenge tour, his Taylor Swift like vigilante. I think it would be cool. I think there's a lot you can do if you put those two in the final.
I'm with you. I'm with you both. I think I absolutely think that the finals are going to be Ethan Page and Ricky Starks. I like this idea of Ricky really doing like a come from behind thing. Like I don't think he's been booked by accident with these gentlemen, you know, because he is the smaller guy in all of the matches with Lance Archer. Like he's going to beat Lance Archer. Lance Archer has to bugger off to New Japan. He's in World Tag League with Minoru Suzuki, so he's going to be gone soon. And Brian Cage went forward. So, you know, Ricky Starks fighting from beneath, you know, being the smaller guy. Now, you know, he got injured because of Lance Archer, which in my opinion is a complete work. Like I'm, you know, 90% convinced. You always want to leave a little, you know, a little something.
Little breathing room.
A little breathing room, you know, a little doubt. But I'm convinced it's a work. And he's going to come back and he's going to, he's going to work whatever injury he got, you know. Oh, he injured my shoulder when he threw me into the wall kind of thing. So he's going to work that, and that's going to be a story. And that could absolutely be the out for Ethan Page to get one over Ricky Starks. And then get the Ricky Starks fan online shaking their fists and going, why not Ricky again? You know, kind of thing. Because I think as hot as he is, I think to me, it's not unlike Jamie Hayter. You know, over, gets great crowd reactions, but it's not time just yet. I think you can build him up. Better. Sure, it's been a little flaky. It's been a little weird. I mean, AEW for the past 4 or 5 months that's been the definition, flaky and weird. So I think with a little more direction and it's like preciseness, I think we can get to somewhere. So I'd like Ricky Starks to win, but I'm not entirely convinced that he will. You know, and I think that the seeds have been planted for it to make sense for him not to win. I think.
No, I definitely agree. And I think I'm just thinking about the emotional aspect of him losing and coming back and being like, I don't know where I go from here, guys. And like you were saying, it's going to be really exciting if Ethan Page wins, you know, if he's in the final. I'm so excited to see Ricky Stark fans be like, well, no one even likes Ethan Page.
Exactly.
I'm going to rage tweet. I love it.
Exactly. And that's the kind of thing they want. That's the kind of thing you want to. You know, that's fine. Which is what I'm expecting from Jamie Hayter fans, FYI. So are we kind of saying, all three of us, that Ethan Page is going to win? Is that what we're saying?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's even beyond my better judgment. It's just that I'd have Ricky win, but I feel like everything's in place for Ethan Page to win.
Yeah.
You got to trust your gut.
I'll trust my gut on this one.
Always trust the gut.
The Acclaimed are going to be taking on Swerve in Our Glory. Once again, third time's the charm for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Acclaimed is one of the top 3 over acts in the company right now. I've said it multiple times. It is not for me. I don't get it. It doesn't entertain me. But I see the value in it. I understand that people are crazy about it, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that they are a tag team that Tony Khan threw together and like, make it work. Did the prelim act, got the cheap heat so that they could get squashed by the bigger name teams and just work their way up to this. I have nothing but respect for everything they do. And I love Anthony Bowens. I think he is a hidden talent in that company on top of that. I'm so glad that they've let him cut his promo chops. Like, even I was impressed. Like, that's not what I mean, like he had to impress me. That's not what I meant. More like I was not expecting him to be that good, is what I'm trying to say. but the Acclaimed are over as hell, and Swerve and Our Glory have a fascinating story going on. I don't know. Look, you are the tag team experts. You can shit on my Acclaimed opinion all you want. Go right ahead.
I think we might see the dissolution of Swerve and Our Glory here. I feel like that's kind of what all of this has been leading to. I think that Swerve is, he needs to go on a singles run, and that's just where we're headed. So, yeah, I feel like the Acclaimed retain here, but again, the bigger story is obviously, Swerve and Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think looking ahead, I think the Acclaimed win here because I think the Acclaimed against FTR is a story and like a program they can't really pass up. Like these goofy young guys against these like grizzled, like stocky vets with their strict outlook on wrestling. And they're two babyface teams, but I think fans would really enjoy the back and forth enough that they wouldn't boo anyone. And I think Swerve and Our Glory, I thought they would have been broken up by now. I really did. I thought after, they lost the titles, I thought Tony should have pulled the trigger on that sooner. I definitely don't think we need this third match. They're just going to say, I think it's totally unnecessary. I would like to see someone else here. But Swerve versus Keith Lee, that has the potential to be a really, really good rivalry and a great match. And I really hope they do it justice and don't just break them up and then, they have a Rampage blow-off match or something. I think that really has a lot of potential. And I think Swerve as a top heel is just a gold mine. Mm-hmm. And they really, really need a heel like that on top. Because even MJF, he's a top-level heel, but he gets cheered all the time. So you need someone who can really get booed.
Yeah, you need a real son of a bitch, and one that's super charismatic. No, but I mean, look between y'all, you can tell like how much charisma and natural, appeal Swerve has when you look at the state of Hit Row right now on SmackDown. Holy smokes! It's like, yep, there's boy, oh boy, there's something missing there. Well, I mean, but look, we talked about it we not even talked about it. We hinted at it at the top of the show. And this is one of the things that I'd like to hear you both on, because you do focus a lot on tag team wrestling. AEW was built on, one of the premises that it was built on was tag team wrestling, that this would be the home for tag team wrestling, that tag teams could headline pay-per-views, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that for the better part of 18 months, 2 years, maybe, you'd be in agreement. You'd be like, holy shit, like, we just have these great tag teams doing great stuff everywhere all the time. Then we started seeing, no disrespect, but Swerve and Our Glory being thrown together, two singles guys into a team. And I'm like, this is interesting. This is, it's something that another company would do quite a bit, and not exactly what I expected, and not what I was told either. One of the reasons that helped AEW stand apart. We're looking at this pay-per-view right now for the company that is tag team wrestling. There's only 2 tag team matches on it, and one that is comprised of 2 like actual tag teams, quote unquote. How do you feel about AEW and tag team wrestling these days?
I think it's a sticky situation because if you look at, the champions and who, the recent ones, the Acclaimed, they're over it, but I feel like they're an outlier in this situation. I don't think their booking as a tag team is what got them over. I think it's their just natural ability to relate to fans. And I think fans love that. So toss them aside. They don't count. Jurassic Express, I think their run was disappointing. I think their win was disappointing. And I think a lot of that is owed to the fact that they've been on our screens with no progress really for so long. I think the Lucha Bros, I think their run was really disappointing, shockingly disappointing. Like that's a home run and they still missed. I don't know. And I think it all comes back to the fact that AEW doesn't put emphasis on tag team wrestling unless it's the champions and unless it's champions who go into it naturally over or just have this like innate ability to get over in any situation, which Jurassic Express didn't and Lucha Bros didn't because they were I have so many thoughts about the Lucha Bros. But then you also, they have like a bunch of tag teams that just sit around and get nothing. Best Friends, what the heck? Proud and Powerful, which are now, done, I guess. What the heck? We had the Undisputed Elite chilling as a group of 5 for so long. Nothing.
So many.
And
Private Party, Butcher and Blade.
Private Party especially, because they beat the Young Bucks on the first Dynamite. And then they, got beat in the tournament, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're in the Hardy family office just being annoying. And then they're in the Andrade family office, which that's like a death sentence. And Tony Khan loves his champions until they win the title. And then it's like, okay, well, now who's the next champion? And I think AEW fans are the same way. Someone wins a title and they're like, okay, we're done with you. Who's the next champion? They're so focused on fantasy booking. It's a hurricane in the AEW tag team division. Unless you're the Young Bucks, then you're fine.
Unless you're the Young Bucks, you can't even bring that kind of security to FTR. Even Haley, do you have some extra thoughts on this?
I feel like it's gotten a bit better recently. It's still not up to par with how I would like it to be, and just my opinion of it all. But I do think that there is a point to be made, like Kylie said, that Tony specifically loves to focus on who's the next champion and champions, and not necessarily like the story behind it or like what we're gonna do. Like it's a slippery slope. But I'm hoping that with the Acclaimed as champions, we get kind of back on track with the tag division. I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah, and I'm worried about trios. And we've talked about this on Tag Talk, how the tag team division kind of took a back seat to building this trios division going into the trios tournament. Yeah. And then, of course, All Out happened, and we all know what happened after that. And I don't think Tony Khan is capable of booking a trios and tag team division at the same time. I think, and that's part of why I think the Acclaimed are going to keep the titles, because they can sustain themselves until, their run is done, and then naturally someone else will be ready. But trios, it really complicates things in AEW, because a lot of the people in the trios division were in the tag team division. Death Triangle, House of Black, The Elite. So now you're just pulling talent, throwing them with the singles guy and putting him in the trios. So who's left? Private Party and Butcher and the Blade. But I don't think AEW cares enough about Private Party and Butcher and the Blade.
Silver and Reynolds. Uno.
Silver and Reynolds.
Dark Order, that's a whole nother episode.
But look, Haley, you brought it up. I don't know why they haven't pulled the trigger on the Beaver Boys. I really don't. At this point, I'm confused. It's just, I don't understand. I don't know who's in Tony Khan's ear that says, no, don't, never mind those dorks. I don't know who does it, because they're super over and they work like hell. They're extraordinarily good workers. And they might end up along the sides of a Santana and Ortiz or the Undisputed Elite, who are absolutely missed opportunities. And especially Fish and O'Reilly. Those are just complete missed opportunities with the matches that were just waiting for them, and they couldn't manage to. Come on now. We're all here shaking our heads. We're like, no.
we really are furiously shaking our heads.
Now I'm thinking, I'm looking at the history of AEW, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. Why hasn't Dark Order, any of them, any combination of them, won trios titles, won tag team titles? It seems like that's something that naturally should have happened. Dark Order, of course, they were disgusting at first, and no one wanted them around. Mm. But they had, on BTE and just being goofballs, and I think Brody Lee was really instrumental in this. They had this little renaissance, and all of a sudden people are like, I love the Dark Order. Yeah. And you're just gonna beat them all the time?
I get for no reason? I get they're the lovable losers, right? That's their thing, right? I get it.
It's so sad.
But the thing is that Silver and Reynolds can really, really go, and they are a seasoned team that has been around the block more than a couple of times. Like it's fascinating to me that they haven't even had a proper run. Just like out of a random, they're challenging the champions tonight kind of thing. Just have like a proper build. It's wild to me.
Yeah, and they haven't had any major setbacks as far as I know. Of course, Reynolds his wife had a baby, but they haven't had like.
Having children is a terrible setback.
But like he wasn't gone for a year with a broken neck or something.
No, I know what
you meant. They've been around.
I know what you meant. I just wanted to make it sound mean. That's all. I know. You're right. They haven't like you see exactly like it's happened with other tag teams like Ortiz, for instance, Santana, excuse me. Who got severely injured and he's out for God knows how long, if he even comes back at this point. Hey, look, it's very strange to me. It's all right. I'm fine. It's very strange to me. It's very strange to me the whole Dark Order situation, but a lot of things regarding the tag team division in AEW is curious. To put it mildly, but if we swerve back around to the match and we give our official pinpoint precise prediction, the Acclaim retained. Is that what? Do we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Finally, we're at the main event. Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against MJF. I think we can all agree that this is not the match that Tony Khan had projected and that he didn't write down in his, in his spiral notebook.
Notebook.
That's not the one that he had scribbled down originally. But I mean, it's the one that makes the most sense. It's two of the most over guys in the company. Jon Moxley is just like probably the most credible pro wrestler that is out there, period, today. So having him be the champion makes sense. MJF, his long-term story to get to the world championship and be the guy, be the man. There's a lot of stuff coming towards here. Haley, do you want to kick this one off? How are you feeling about this match? How we got here and how it's going to play out?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say that I'm one of those people that like on Twitter all the time, you see people like, I just hope that like both teams have fun. That's how I feel about this. I just hope they have fun. Because I love them both. And admittedly, I was not that I hated MJF, but I was very like, boo MJF, like for a long time. But just this return for him, I've just been really like honed in on. Like, I love the idea of like the whole like devil thing. I'm really into that. And yeah, it may not be, what was expected and what it should be, but they're doing the best is what they can do here. And I can't wait for MJF to get his moment. I think it's going to be great.
And they're making the best with what they have. When what you have is Jon Moxley and MJF, and you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying, gee, Willikers, we're losing CM Punk. Gosh darn it. It's like that. We're doing great here. Like if that's your plan B, you're solid. Are you trying to tell me, Haley, that you're thinking that MJF is going to win this match? He's going to be the next AEW World Heavyweight Champion. There's no heavyweight class.
I think so.
Sorry.
I love Mox, and I really just want Mox to go on his break, his well-deserved break, like he was promised so long ago, and then he had to go back and win the title again.
But now he travels with his wife now. It's kind of like, it's vacation all the time now.
That's true. But,
No. Traveling to work with your spouse is not the same as taking a day off for sure. No, absolutely not. I can attest to that. Kylie, what about you?
I think the whole MJF situation is super interesting because I think he got a lot of sympathy coming out of All Out from AEW fans because his return was kind of overshadowed by the situation that happened, this whole big thing. And I don't think there's been fans who have been super vocal about it, but I think on a whole, the fan base is kind of like, oh, poor MJF, like that really sucks. So I think the fact that he gets cheered this, like Haley said, this devil sympathy for the devil situation is so cool. It's so interesting. I do think later on down the line, he's going to be so despicable that people are going to boo him again. I don't think this is a babyface turn. I don't think they want to do a babyface turn. I think anyone who's saying that is blowing it out of proportion. It's just a cool little niche part of his story. Justice for Moxley. He got robbed of his vacation, and he deserves it. And so I really do think, even though it's a bit of a weird situation, like not the booking for it isn't perfect, it's kind of thrown together. I think you give it to MJF. One, so Moxley can get his vacation, and two, so we can kind of start fresh. We're back on track now because I think it's undeniable that MJF would have beaten CM Punk. I think we get back on track and we go back to what we were doing. The Elite returns, presumably at Dynamite or at Full Gear. We're back to baseline normal AEW. We can move forward. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see MJF take it in a hard-fought, bloody, brutal match.
I'm still not super convinced. It's kind of still like the Jamie Hayter track for me when it comes to MJF, where I'm like, here's what I really like about this story. I can't remember which podcast said it recently, but it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like the MJF storyline is like the Bloodline story, but for adults.
That's so good.
I won't take credit for, but I can't properly give credit. I don't remember who said that, but it's like the Bloodline story for adults. Whereas for months now, and even going back to the CM Punk feud and even before that, MJF's thing has always been about projection, about putting himself into a bigger shoes than what he actually has or / deserves, or what he has earned at this point, depending on your point of view. And his insecurities have become more and more part of his stories. He brought that up during the CM Punk feud, where at some point we all started felt bad for him when he started talking about, his tribulations in school, in relations to being Jewish, and you're like, oh shit, and then the next week, well, what does he do? Well, he fucks over CM Punk, and he's a bastard again. And he's been doing that as well. And Mox has been calling him out on that. And William Regal as well. They've both been saying, you don't have the guts to do it, son. You're not here. You're not there yet. Mox said it himself, said, I'm a millionaire, multi-time world champion. You're a cosplayer right now. You're pretending. You want to be that, but you ain't that. You don't have the stuff yet. So, and these are all part of these insecurities that MJF has been bringing up. Just like his battles with his own conscience, right? Where he's like, when getting mad at Stokely Hathaway for helping him out to win a match, or beating up someone after. He's like, no, what are you doing? It's like, does he want to do things the right way, or does he want to be the devil, right? We don't know. So all of this has been very intricate, of course, intricate for pro wrestling levels, right? And we're not talking about, Succession or anything, it's not that deep. But it's like, I would absolutely see, it would work for me to see MJF lose again and then be like, no, you know what? Maybe he tried to do it the right way in the match. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe he tried to do it the right way and prove himself. And he's like, look, I let you people get into my head. William Regal, you sent me an email, so many years ago telling me that I wasn't going to make it, or that so on and so forth. And now I let you back into my head, and look what happened. I fucked up again. I'm going to do things my way moving forward. I still think there's juice in this. MJF can't win the big one just yet, because he is going to win the big one. Mm-hmm. But is it just yet,
I'm going to raise a point. What do you think about Regal turning on Mox and MJF using his brass knucks in the match?
Do you think that would happen? I mean,
I don't know.
I think it would be interesting to see And I see what you're saying about MJF, like trying to do things the right way. But I think he's been acting like he's going to do things the right way. I do think he's going to cheat in this match. And I think he's going to cheat to win. I think that the BCC drama, bringing it to Moxley, because, up until now, Moxley's kind of been, outside
Above
of this, he's
yeah.
on his own, whatever. Bringing it to Moxley and taking the BCC and really turning them heel, I think that'd be really interesting. Not going to lie. I don't know how you would book it in a way that would make sense for, William Regal and Moxley, because I don't think William Regal wants to align himself with MJF. Maybe he's disappointed and he's mad at Moxley. I don't know, but
yeah, or maybe all the little infighting and maybe the little infighting that's going on, and that's not a bad idea. The little infighting. William Regal's like, he delivers a line maybe. I'm tired of working with children. And he's like,
I'm calling Tony Khan right now. I'm gonna do it.
And he's like, I'm going to work with a man. I'm going to work with MJF, and he's proven himself to me. It took him, since that email, look at what he's grown into, and I can take him elsewhere. And but they're, they're one of your top merch sellers, though. The BCC is.
That is so true. That is true.
I don't know how you. Oh, that's an interesting wrinkle, though. Because I think there is a way to weave that, Haley. That makes sense to me.
I'm making a Twitter poll.
She's obsessed with Twitter polls.
I love Twitter polls. You can learn so much about people by how they vote in Twitter polls.
Yes, and sometimes it's quite unfortunate what you learn. But okay. So, look, honestly, I think MJF is going to retain the title. Is going to win the title. I think. But I absolutely have I absolutely see how we could go down a lane where it's not quite yet. It's not his time. Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair. I because he just came back, and I think it's fair.
You could still, I swear, you could still squeeze some more out of this and make MJF even more bitter and angry and pissed off. And there's so much to feed into that character, that persona. I mean, it's been great so far. But look, I'll go, as opposed to, I think my gut says MJF, and I was told to follow my gut, but my brain says John Moxley retains. So
playing a little bit of devil's advocate here.
There you go. Pretty much. Exactly. So there you have it.
I think I need to go back to sleep.
So there you have it, folks. We that is our preview predictions for Full Gear 2022, which is going to be happening in just a few days. Thank you everyone for tuning in, but most importantly, thank you to Kylie and Haley for joining me today. It was wonderful of you to make the time to join me, and I really, really appreciate it. Let people know where they can find you and connect with your work online.
I'll go first. Okay, you can follow me on Twitter at Fuller_Kylie. I'm still on there for now. I don't know what's going to happen. I might end up having to pay for Twitter Blue. Who knows? But I'm still on there. You can follow me on there. I post everything I'm doing there. You can see me and Haley every Monday at 3 on Fightful Overbooked for Tag Talk. We're live every Monday at 3, and it's a good time. We have a great group of people who come and hang out in the chat. So it's a safe space. Everyone is welcome. You can see us also on Romanticized Wrestling. No day, no time. We just upload when we feel like it. So you have to follow us on Twitter for that, and follow at Romantic Wrestle, which is the Twitter account for Romanticized Wrestling. Haley, your turn.
All right, you guys can find me on Twitter as well. I don't know how long I'm going to be there either, but you can follow me for updates on that at Haley and _. I also do some nerdy writing and stuff. If you guys are into that, I write for Potty Slam as well as Nerds and Beyond. I'm an editor over there. Oh, and I also have a Substack, which, It's called The Wrestling Muse, and I write about whatever I'm romantic for in wrestling and all my favorite wrestlers. So you guys can check that out and subscribe to that. It's free.
Which I am subscribed to, by the way, if you needed to put that over a little more. I really, and Kylie is too, of course, but you guys are friends. So, you want to do that kind of stuff. But hey, look, seriously, thank you both so very, very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. It was a good time, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. I was so excited for this. Me and Haley were talking about it. I'm like, oh, it's going to be so much fun. I'm so glad we did it.
Me too. I think it was long overdue, and I'm glad we had a chance to do it. So thank you again for joining me. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application. Likes, subscriptions, reviews, you know the deal. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, and I will see you next time.